Alright guys, well I got the first little modification that I'm going to do here to my 2014 GMC. I'm going to be installing this Moroso catch can. It's a PCV filter basically for the crankcase ventilation system. This is vehicle specific. This actually came off of my 2007. So when I traded my 2007 GMC for this 2014, I pulled it off and saved it and figured I'd use it somewhere else, and I'm pretty certain that I can adapt it to work on this truck. Again, it's a 2014 GMC. I have the 5.3 liter, I believe they call it the EcoTec3. It's the direct injection engine. So we'll get this thing installed. It's I've already gone over and looked at it pretty carefully, and I believe it's going to be something that's going to be pretty simple to install. So first thing we're going to do, we're actually going to take this apart and clean it out, because I haven't done that yet. So we'll get this thing separated, cleaned out, and then we'll move on to the installation. So right in here is where I've decided to mount the PCV catch can. To give you a frame of reference, because I know that the screen's pretty tight, we're on the driver's side of the truck. This is the windshield washer, reservoir, and the headlight right here. Right in here, if this truck was a diesel, it would have a second battery in this location. So this is the where the auxiliary battery would go. Now on my 2007, this bracket, now really the only thing that's vehicle specific is this bracket. On my 2007, it was mounted, if I push this too far out of the way, it'll be out of the frame, but mounted to the side of the alternator bracket. In this case, I'm actually going to use this fastener right here that holds the reservoir to the core support. I'm going to use that to mount my catch can. Now, I'm going to put the little tab here in between the core support and the reservoir bracket. You could put it there, and all you'd really need to do was to kind of notch out a little area right in here, but I'm not really feeling like doing that. So it's easy enough just to pull that little bolt out of there, and it's a 10mm bolt. Just pull that out of there and mount the catch can in between the two. So with our bolt removed, we'll take the catch can and the bracket, put it in between the reservoir and the core support, and put our bolt back in place. We'll get that tightened down, and again 10mm wrencher socket, and now we're ready to run the lines, but there's a couple things that we got to do first. So again, just to give you a point of reference, driver's side of the truck behind the headlight. See, there's the auxiliary battery location, and there's how we got it mounted. Now on my 2007 GMC, the crankcase ventilation system effectively had barb fittings. Now they weren't necessarily barbs in the case of these two fittings that came with the kit, but they were push fittings that you used a band clamp around them to keep them snug. Now with these new trucks, they kind of have these little push lock fittings. You just push up on that, give it a wiggle, and kind of slide it back. Now these breather lines we don't have to mess with. We are going to have to remove them here in a minute, but we're not going to have to modify those in any way. This is the line right here. This is the crankcase breather line. Runs into the intake, and it connects down to the crankcase sort of in the valley there. So we're going to have to remove the air intake tube to access it down there at the crankcase. So there's no real trick to getting the air intake tube removed. We just have these two breather fittings One for the passenger side valve cover, one for the driver side valve cover, and then 2 band clamps. One here by the air box and the mass airflow sensor, and then another one up here around the throttle body. So here's the line that we're concerned with. This is the crankcase breather line. Runs up, kind of up and behind, and then up to the intake. So again, it's just a little push lock kind of fitting. Just depress the little gray part and then pull it out. All right, here we are looking at the intake side. This is our tube right here that we're concerned with. I know this coil pack plug is a little bit in the way, but that's the tube that we want to get out. So pinch it and then just pull it out. It definitely takes a little bit of finagling to get this line removed, because it's routed in there pretty well. And there we go. So with the crankcase breather line removed, all we actually really need from this are the fittings on each end. Now, just as a reference, this one that has roughly a 45-degree angle, this is the side that goes to the crankcase down there in the valley. This one here that's got a little bit of a bend to it, let's say 15 to 20 degrees, this is the one that actually attaches to the intake, and you can see written on here, you know, intake, or I guess it's backwards. There we go, intake. And here's the part number actually, that 1261 9982, that's the part number for this whole tube. So, like I said, all we need are the fittings, and these are kind of a heat shrunk plastic tube around these fittings. So I'm going to use a box knife and just cut this plastic so that we can harvest the fitting off of this tube. There you go. I went to the auto parts store, I got fuel line, and you want to get fuel line for this because we're dealing with crankcase vapors, and inherently crankcase vapors do contain a little bit of fuel. So you want fuel resistant hose, so don't get any kind of radiator hose, water hose, anything like that. You want fuel resistant hose. And we're just going to connect these, slide these new hoses onto our existing clamps. That's a pretty snug fit. And again, this is 3/8 inch fuel line. And then I got some band clamps to snug things down. So now we just got to come back in and route our lines back in place. That's snug. Make sure everything's snug, all your band clamps and everything else. Make sure it's all real nice and snug, because if it's, you know, if the O2 sensors and the mass airflow sensor are getting different readings, because you're drawing air into your intake. So if the O2 sensors are reading unmetered air, then your engine's going to run pretty crappy. And you're going to get a warning light, all that kind of stuff. So make sure all your connections are tight. So as you can see over here in the corner of the screen, I put my air intake tube back on. And my breather lines here, I've left them long. And that was for a reason, just so I could run them over here. We'll cut them to the exact length and then hook them up. So first thing I'm actually going to do, put some hose clamps on these, just so I don't forget. Alright, and one at a time, we'll kind of stretch these out a little bit, kind of get the length we want, move it there, and then cut it. So the lines are hooked up, the band clamps are tightened down. You can hook these up in any orientation. There isn't a specific in or an outside on the Moroso catch can. It's symmetrical on the inside, so it doesn't make a difference which side is the dirty side and which side is the clean side. So that all done, I'm going to use these. I like these little Velcro tabs. I think on the box they call it hook and loop, but I believe that's just because Velcro is a brand name, a trademark. So I like these a little, instances like this, I like these better than zip ties. It just looks a little bit more factory. Go ahead and wrap these up. And that's it, installation's done. Now we just got to turn the truck on and check for any air leaks. So I don't hear any air leaks. The engine's running same as it always has. So I think we've got a pretty successful install here. Alright, so just a couple of reference points. We've got 9,418 miles on the truck. We're going to come back. I'm going to put a few hundred miles on it, and we'll come back and we'll see how much oil, if any, that the catch can actually collects. Now on my 2007, I'm pretty sure I noticed at least a small increase in fuel economy. So that's why I've got the fuel economy screen pulled up here. I've got an average of 14.8 over the last 400 miles. So we'll see if that improves at all. So I'll go put some miles on this truck. We'll come back in a little bit and see what we find. So we're back now. Let's see, we've put on better than 400 miles. We were at 94.18 last time, and we're at 98.38, so 420 miles. I'm currently getting an average of 16.3 miles per gallon with the best miles per gallon of the same 16.3. Last time at the 9,418 mile mark, we were at 14.8 and a best mile per gallon of 16.1. So my best miles per gallon only went up 0.2 of a mile per gallon. My average went up. But this certainly isn't any sort of scientific test here. I'm just showing you these results just for the sake of it. Like I mentioned, I did notice about a 1 mile per gallon increase on my 2007 GMC with this exact same catch can. Like I said, this catch can is a carryover from that truck. And that was consistent results over about a 35,000 mile period of time that the catch can was installed on the truck. So this isn't a scientific test by any means. Like I said, I just wanted to show these results just for the sake of showing them. So let's get under the hood and crack open the catch can and see how much oil it's collected. All right, so you're looking at the drain on the catch can. Pull the little cap off. We'll just set that down. So we've got a little plastic cup here. We'll crack this open and see how much we've actually collected. I don't think this is going to be much. Over a 400 mile period on my 2007, I never collected all that much motor oil, but there is some in there, so it is doing its job. So that seems to be about as much as it's going to give up. There's still a little bit just dripping, but that's pretty inconsequential. So let me close this up, wipe it off, and we'll go over these results. So that's what we collected over that short 420 mile little test run. So I really don't, all I have to test this with is a small little, it's a syringe, but there's no needle on it. It's just one of those little syringes they give you, like if you get some cough medicine or something at the drugstore. Only goes up to 5 milliliters or 5 cc's, but that's all I got to test it with. So let's see how much is actually in there. Alright. Now we got black motor oil with black numerical values or graduations on this. I would say that's there. You can kind of see the graduations on there. I would say that's about 6 cc's of fluid, which is not much. Let's see, if I remember correctly, there are, I think it's 29.5 cubic centimeters in 1 fluid ounce. So yeah, we don't even have we're not even close to 1 fluid ounce. But that's to be expected. I mean, it is still a brand new engine. Fairly brand new, only 9,800 miles on it. So it's not gonna pump a lot of motor oil through the crankcase ventilation system, but nonetheless, you add this up over time, it can really gum up the back of the intake valves, gum up your intake manifold, intake runners on the cylinder heads. So I think it's, you know, for the cost, for what they cost, I think it's a good investment, and it's a very simple installation. So that's it. I appreciate you guys watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe.